Hello, you guys. I'm laughing because if you follow me, you've seen my little space, but if you're here on the podcast, you may have not seen the space that I work in. So I've created this little podcast studio in a closet just off of our spare room where we have our gym, and I hole up in the closet here when I'm recording, and I typically, my family knows and they give me space and they leave me alone or whatever, but I didn't tell my husband that I was going to be recording. And so I had just started this intro, and then I could hear him walk up to just outside the closet door. Sure. So anyways, I opened the door. I said, I can't record when I know you're standing right outside the door. So he had to walk away. But anyways, okay. So I am loving this influencer series. On a very, very personal note, it has brought me to this very sweet place of, I don't know, it almost feels like I've come back home, with some of these people and just these thoughts and just my core foundation, and it just feels really good and really sweet. And I would encourage you to do this process. You don't have to have a podcast. You don't have to interview each of them, although that has been super cool part of this. But I do ask you to list out maybe your top 10 influencers, those people that you follow, you watch, you lean on, that God has used in your life. And for me, today's episode is so much one of these people that I am, you've seen the name of the episode already. So some of you who already know her because she was a huge part of our church family, is Debbi Hawney. And Debbi Hawney, so if you know Debbi, this is, oh my gosh, this is the most fun episode. But if you know Debbi, one of her very greatest, love languages and something she's known for is, if she gets a hold of you, you're going to coffee. And we used to, especially when she was in women's ministry for us at our church, it was a joke, careful if you go to coffee with Debbi, because you might leave with some sort of conviction or action item, or, a member of something. This is the space we love to be in together, which is just talking and sharing about what God is up to and what God is doing. And she loves seeing women especially come to life in their faith. She loves watching them bloom and blossom, and to be one of Debbi's, is it a mentee? Not a mentor, but a mentee. I think that's what it is. But to be one of those who have been mentored by her is tremendously, I'm so grateful for it in my life. And, she's something real special. And this episode was so sweet for so many reasons. But one of the things is Debbi has moved. She's moved back to Nebraska. She's not here with us in our church community anymore. We can't just go to coffee. And the last couple of years even have, she's had lots of life stuff, which we'll talk about. And, I've had life stuff. And, as friendships do, there are seasons where you're not talking all the time. And this episode was so delightful for me because I got a chance to, first of all, catch up on everything she's thinking, feeling, doing. And I also got a chance to just be loved on by her. And you'll hear her heart for watching people shine in the Lord. Her, if I were to name this episode, it would be named Rise and Shine and Give God the Glory. That's what it would be named, because that is her song. And when we hear that song, we think of her. Debbi, I hope you're listening to this, 'cause I'm going to make you. I love you so much, and I am so grateful that you have been such a huge part of my life. And I know that as others hear this episode today, they will feel that hope that we have in the Lord. And I am just, that's it. I hope you enjoyed today's episode because it brought me great joy, everyone. Enjoy. Hello, fellow plate spinners. I'm really glad you're here for your weekly dose of authenticity and joy. I'm Selena Johnson, and your guide through this chaos of busy lives. In each episode, we unpack real tools to conquer overwhelm and dodge burnout. It's all about creating space for what truly matters. Whether it be through solo reflections or inspiring guests, this is your sanctuary for a more centered, productive you, with a healthy serving of that joy we talked about. Get ready to hit pause on life while we dive in to some real chats. Hope you enjoy. All right. I have a very special person in my life on today. And as I was thinking through this influencer series and the people who have come into my life and have, molded me in any way or who are currently an influence on me, I wanted to invite in. And the top of the list was this lovely woman named Debbi Hawney, who, if you are in our church community, you know her. But if you're not, I just want to welcome Debbi to the podcast. Welcome.
Good morning, Selena. Rise and shine and give God the glory, glory.
There she is. There she is. I love it. That's our Debbi right there. So she's got a cup of coffee in her hand, and she's there's sunshine around her. And if there's like any picture of Debbi I have in my mind, this is it right now. So I'm really excited. Yeah, it's so good. So tell us first before we get into all of our chit chat, because I'm just going to warn everyone, this could be a 3-hour episode. We'll try to keep it not to that, but tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're at in life. Give everyone an update. Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm not where I thought I'd be. However, it's really pretty funny story. I am married to my husband, high school sweetheart of 45 years. We have two grown boys who are both married, have children. And through circumstances, I have found myself away from my home on the West Coast my whole life. We are now in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
Who but God could have done something like that?
Yeah.
So my kids live here, and I needed to be with the grandkids and to have some support for my boys. And I've been here long enough now. It's been about 3 years that I'm actually starting to see the beauty of Nebraska. It took
Took
me
you a
a
minute.
long time coming from Washington.
Yes, I'm sure this. I mean, even aesthetically, it's so different than what you've been raised around. So,
Oh, well, they talk about mountains,
yeah,
which, my
the hill.
driveway's steeper than the. They talk about trees that are only green in the summer.
Yeah.
They talk about beaches that are on the edge of a small lake. It's just funny. Nothing is the same, but yet I am finding the beauty.
I'm
So
so glad. That makes me really happy. So, Debbi and I have been, yeah, again, in our church community for a long time. Debbi is the person who she would see you and she would say, we need to have coffee. Like that's like the original Debbi. I remember is like, let's have coffee. And you were always afraid for Debbi to ask you to coffee because you'd probably end up leaving with some sort of conviction in your heart or action item or prompting or whatnot. So we're gonna have coffee together right now. We're gonna
awesome.
catch up, and I'm really, really excited about it. So I
Me
first want to just
too.
open up with how you've been an influence in my life. This influencer series is challenging for me because almost the whole podcast I have to uh hold back tears. So we're just gonna we're good. But
Mm,
because I was really reflecting on how, I got to this place in my life. My mom says God's never working on just one person. And Debbi and my mom are very close. You should all know, like they're close friends. And so she knows exactly what I'm talking about when my mom says that. And I thought, as they've been an influence in my life. I think it's what's adorable is you were even surprised I called you for this because I think you were like, what? But as I was thinking about how they've been an influence in my life, these people that we're having on, including you, I also want to tap into them, and like what has been your journey and what has gotten you to a place where you have touched so many lives. I
Mm,
know, just to give everyone a little bit of background, you were very, very big in women's ministries, across other platforms other than our church. It was your world for a very
mm,
long time, and you were deep in it. And I know that you've impacted a lot of women through that, and it's been a journey in itself. But God's also had you on a personal journey, and through that, I've seen you wrestle. And I
mm,
think when you're influencing other people, it's not like you just show up one day. This is my encouragement for anyone like wanting to make an impact in the world. It's not like you just show up and you just influence people. Like you yourself are going through your own stuff. And from that, I believe is an outpouring that changes other people, right? That you bring them
mm.
kind of on the journey with you. And so let's talk a little bit about the last few years. We're just going to get right into it because you had this like this life of
Mhm.
helping other women, and God has had you in a place of having to help yourself, really, right? Is that fair to say?
Uh, Not even that I could help myself. I was in a place of what is going on? What
Yeah,
do I do? I mean, just really,
yeah,
life had taken such a turn.
yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah. And what has been something that you, now looking back, because you're not even probably out of it. I know you have a
oh
lot
no,
going on. You're in it. You're
oh
in
no.
it. And so what has been something that you have that has shifted you in this season in your walk with the Lord? Like, what I know that
Mm.
again, you've had to wrestle with him. So what you're, I'm sure, in a
Mhm.
place where you've accepted some of the things Jesus has for you. And what does that look like for you? And what has that process been?
I think I have to go back to first to explain a little bit about who God has created me to be
I love that. Yeah.
and the gifts that he's given me. And that's,
Mhm.
a natural encourager. Those who have done strength finders, I'm a woo, winning others over.
We're wooers
I just,
together, always and
I,
forever.
I make friends everywhere I go and not by my doing. It's just how he's created me. I have a gift of positivity
Yes.
and, um, and a deep strength in faith. And I
Mhm.
know that it's a gift from him because I grew up in a non-believing home. So my faith is something that he has given me and I love it. But with those strengths, as wonderful as they are, the last few years, it's been a double-edged sword
Yeah.
because like Selena, you were saying things were going great. I was doing and being and participating in things I never dreamed of,
That
out of
mountaintop,
country.
right?
Yeah, out of
Yeah.
country, in country, but it was always ministering to other women. And all of a sudden, um, one day my husband woke up and we discovered he had a massive brain tumor. And from that point on, our life started shifting. And in the process of that's been about 13 years
Yeah, I
ago
was going to
now.
ask. It all flies
Mhm.
by. So 13. Okay.
Yeah, the brain tumor was in 2002. As it went on, he wasn't able to do his job anymore. He had short-term memory. So he was not working. He couldn't drive. I really had to pick up a lot more than what I was doing. And I call that bittersweet. I count it a privilege that I was
Mhm.
able to do those things. But in the process, I started at that point losing myself.
Yeah.
And so from that point on, I lost my mom suddenly. My dad developed dementia, and I started taking care of him as well as Barry.
Mhm.
Um, we ended up losing my dad just last year. We moved here to Nebraska, so I lost my support system, my church. I was starting out as I don't know who Debbie is anymore, and nobody knows me or truly
Yeah.
cares.
Yeah.
So I was stuck at
Did you
home.
want to just like walk around the church like as you were like you guys need to know I'm really positive and I'm everyone should know I'm really fun to be around. Let's go to coffee.
Oh my gosh, you don't even know how many days I wish that would happen. However, what's weird in Nebraska is there is a church on every corner.
Oh yeah,
However,
okay.
there is not a Starbucks.
Oh no.
So going for a sit down coffee somewhere is really a challenge.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. You were like really lost. You didn't even have
I
your
was
like mothership.
really, oh, oh, honey, you don't even know. So, anyway, when we moved to Nebraska, we moved in with my youngest son and his family, which, by the way, includes two teenagers. I was not ready for that kind of chaos. However, it's gone well.
Mhm.
But um, but in the process, like I said, everything I knew about myself, I still had these gifts, but I wasn't able to use them.
You almost feel
And
like your hands are tied almost like you're
oh,
right.
it
You're in
was,
like a straitjacket.
I really was finding myself going downhill
Yeah.
quickly. And the kicker was we lost our little 3-year-old Yorkie, who, this sounds silly, but my Yorkie was the only thing
Yeah.
that didn't require anything from me except for to love her.
Yeah.
And she passed away from a stomach tumor, which is so unusual for a 3-year-old. It just,
Hurt
I
you.
had lost everything.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
um, I knew I needed some help.
yeah.
I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
So
One and not to mention, I know you yourself have some health,
I
you know,
do.
stuff you've worked
Mhm.
through for years and is I'm
Yep,
sure progressing and not getting better.
yep.
It's probably just maintenance at this point that you're keeping it
It's a
going. And
lot
so
of,
I
right.
think
It's
with
a lot of pain. So it's a
pain, right?
constant
Yes, let's not sugarcoat
thing.
it.
Yeah. So what happened, after our little Nova passed away, I thought I've got to get some help. I don't know where to go. And I joined a grief share group. They're
Mm,
located at churches. And I have a real struggle because, again, how I'm wired, sitting in a support group and hearing people whine and not being
I knew
able
you were going to say that. Okay,
to
so we have to stop right here because this is one of our commonalities that we have loved each other through and had grace for each other because we
absolutely.
have said together we and separately we do not have the gift of compassion. Now, what we mean is we love people. Like first of all, it's
Absolutely.
right. Like we love people. But if you're not going to come with a solution or be willing to create a solution or, this victim mentality, it's hard for you and I. I know our personality types are like, well, let's do something about it. So I'm picturing you in this group that was, I'm like, you're
Oh,
formulating plans for everyone. You're getting it all figured out.
it was painful.
I bet.
However, I really went in there with the mindset I'm not there for anybody
Oh,
but Debbie.
so good.
So I really, as much as I can't help myself, I made friends in there. But I really wanted to learn how I go through this grief process.
Oh, I'm so proud of you.
And um, so I will get into this, but it was life changing for
Oh,
me. Even though I didn't share my grief, I didn't feel like I needed to do that. I've got friends to do that with,
right.
but I needed to understand the process of grief.
Yeah, like
And
tools to, yep.
well, again, we want solutions, right, Selena?
That's what we do.
So anyway, that was the beginning of a new year for me this year, and I'm excited to say I'm in a way better place.
Yeah.
So
And God is so good because you and I love each other so well, but it's not
yes,
like we text each other often or I
no,
mean, like
mhm,
I know it's been a season and I know that. And I
mhm,
also know that you do have people around you who are lifting you up and praying for you and loving you. And I was doing so from afar, but I think it's
absolutely.
so interesting how God works because, uh, he like literally just put me on your heart. And I think it's amazing that it would be for such a time as this that you're able to come.
Mhm.
Like, I don't know that a year ago you would have been like, girlfriend, I love you, but this is not happening. Like, I
Well,
need a minute.
even even with this, I did call once and say, I think I need
I
more
know.
time. Yeah,
I
yeah.
know. And I just am I'm so grateful that you're stepping out in faith and knowing that somebody probably right now is hearing this, because I think again, I think that if somebody's influencing others, loving on others, that every single one of us has a journey, and we're gonna we this is the life. This is the process, the hills and the valleys, and that he's with us through all of it. And I'm so grateful that you're in this place where you can talk about it, because I'm sure it
Mhm.
will help somebody. So I love that. So let's talk about the tools that you've
Okay.
gained. I want to hear about it.
Okay. Well, first of all, one of the things is ministering to women for so many years, my biggest joy is allowing women to know that everyone has a part in God's plan to touch a life. And just because my gifts were this and yours are not, you probably have more compassion than I do, and God needs you.
Yeah, we need each other, all of us. Yes. Yes, yes.
Um, but
Good point.
but I want women to know that we're all called to be used by God because
Right.
He is ultimately the true influencer.
That's
He
right.
uses us to touch lives, but only He can change hearts and lives.
That's right.
And so that's just my message so much. And if we're not willing to step out and just trust God with what He's given us, where He's put us,
Hmm.
um, who's around us,
Hmm.
then we're missing out on something so big.
Yeah.
So with that, going to grief share, knowing how I was wired, one of the first couple lessons was on um, how we grieve. And
Hmm.
one of the things I learned is I felt, and this I'm so embarrassed to even say this,
Oh, I can't
I
wait.
I felt I was responsible for God's reputation. I
Mm.
I wanted to do it well so that
Oh, so
He
deep.
would get the glory. However, protecting His reputation meant I wasn't being honest with Him of my pain and my hurt.
That's right.
And I started studying lamenting and what
Oh,
that is like. And oh, I'm sorry, my dog wants my attention.
it's okay. Hi, doggy.
um,
We'll keep it in.
yes, I got a new dog, and it's Lola, and she is a handful.
Bringing you joy.
She is filled the gaps as well.
Oh, I
So,
love that for you.
but the lamenting, I went back to the heart of David and how um, God called him a man after my own heart, and
Yeah.
yet David just poured out his cries and his pain and his sorrow, and then always ended with praise.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, why do I feel that it's Debbi Hawney's responsibility not to be real with God and others
Mhm.
about the pain part of my life,
Mhm.
only the joys?
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's so good. Also, David was a mess. Can
He
we
was a mess.
like like if we really look at it, I've been like thinking about it that a lot lately, which is interesting you bring it up, because I'm like, he did not have it all together, and he sinned outrightly, and he, all the things, and he had pride, and he had all these, he was a mess. And but God could
But
still
God.
use him. And
Yep.
I love that, exactly what I thought of. He always turned to praise. That's what's been like on my heart,
Yep.
and meditated on the word. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Mm, mm,
It was eye-opening for me,
I love
Selena.
that.
I really did not want others to see someone who loved the Lord so much hurt so bad.
Yeah.
And I thought, if they saw, if Debbi Hawney is hurting so bad, why would you need God? I mean, how
Mm,
could God let that happen?
mm,
Which is such an untruth. But
Yeah,
um
well, I mean, I to be fully transparent, there were moments when, because you've had a lot crashing in on you, and I would hear of it, right? That your father passed or your puppy passed, and every time I'm like, why Debbie? Like, I mean, that would be the question I would ask. I was like, she loves you so much, Lord, and she's such a servant for you, and she's given so much of her time and her energy, and why Debbie? And so I love hearing your side of it, because I kept hearing him say there's a purpose. There's a
yeah.
purpose. And we haven't talked about this, but for me to hear that piece of it from you, that you were holding that tight, um,
Mhm,
I'm sure brought God such joy for you to release it. Like,
mhm.
but use me in spite of these challenges that you've given me,
Right.
not because everything's going great, but that's called vulnerability, right? Like, yeah,
Absolutely.
being willing to share
Absolutely.
that. It's important.
And how much, what I'm learning is how much more people can identify with the trials and the issues than
Yeah.
they can with total joy, because I have joy and it radiates. But I can't tell you how many times people have said, is that for real?
Yes,
Because it
I
almost feels
understand.
fake. Yeah. And it's like, no, I'm not fake. I really do have joy.
Yeah.
But
And I have problems. I promise. I just never talk about them, right? Yeah,
I don't tell anybody about my problems.
I don't want to talk
But
about it.
I think the thing that finally really got me to a point where I knew I had to be completely vulnerable is I didn't mention this part, but my husband Barry also took a major fall and has a traumatic brain injury. So that has really declined his health. So um, it's very apparent now our lives aren't normal.
There's
He's
no
in a
there's no hiding behind a
There's no
facade.
hiding. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's no hiding it. And
Hmm.
so I want to do it well, but I also have gotten to the point where I realize without God, I could not do this. And he knows the sadness I feel with the loss of dreams and the loss of, this is not what we thought our retirement would be like, or um, just there's a lot that goes with that. But having it be so visible now makes it easier for me to also be more
Yeah, I mean,
vulnerable,
I'm
I
sure there's
think.
a bit of freedom built in, right? Where you feel like, you know what, this is us, and this is
This
what
is
we're
that.
going through, and you get all of it now. Yeah,
You get it
yeah.
all. Now it's just going to come flooding out. But
Yes.
so
Oh,
good. The Lord has been so sweet,
yeah.
and learning that we can feel like we don't have it together, that we would have nothing to offer, that we're grieving losses, whatever it is. God is still with us and has
Mm.
a purpose. And Selena, as you said, as you prayed for me, you felt him saying, but it's going to be for my glory. You watch what happens. And I hope that's my prayer, is that others will look back and see him in me and not Debbie.
Yeah. Well, I think there's this phrase that is rolling around in my mind right now for you. Is like, he doesn't bring you this far just to bring you this far. Like, it's all built up
Right.
to more. There's still more. And what does that look like? Yeah, it does look different, but we also know his plans are way bigger than ours, and he's got the whole picture,
Absolutely.
right? And I think I have to remind myself, I just did an episode recently called Zoom Out, which is like, I have to remind myself, this right here, what I'm experiencing feels big, but he's got a tapestry he's weaving, and I don't want to be a snag in the tapestry. I
Yeah.
want to use me all throughout, and sometimes that requires us to go to really painful places,
Mhm,
and I mean, there's
mhm.
things I've talked about that I never thought I would talk about, and also
Right.
prayerfully, because I'm like, does anyone need to hear this? But the
Right.
fact is someone does need to hear it, and that's why he has me doing
Selena, you made a great point, because again, how we are, we don't want whiners. We
it.
want to
No,
see
no
that
whiners here.
Yeah, we want to lean into Jesus, trust him. We can feel sad about it,
Yeah.
but what are we going to do to move forward? Because of that mentality, that also kept me from telling my story because I didn't want to be a whiner.
Yes. Yes.
I did not want to be one of those gals
Yes.
who there was nothing I could do to make my life better because that's not
Yeah.
the truth.
Yeah. It's not
But
productive to complain. Why should I complain? Nobody wants to hear
yeah,
me complain. I don't want to hear other
nobody
people
wants.
complain.
It all comes back to bite us, Selena.
Oh man, I know. And God's just smiling. He's like, "Oh, you two are cute. You two are cute. We're gonna give you a form of complaining that's gonna be useful." I love that. Oh my gosh, we're a mess and a beautiful one.
Oh, well, and it's nice to go through it with other messes, so
Yes.
that we
Oh,
don't feel
preach. Yeah.
alone.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, also too, we don't, our neighbors are going through something, or somebody at work, or somebody in the grocery store is going through something hard too. We have right now for missions conference coming up, we've got, the phrases to the hard places. And it
Mm,
just dawned on me, while in church this Sunday, I was thinking about it. I was like, this is the hard place too. Like, being
mm,
out at a mission field is hard with different trials, right? You don't have your support group. You don't, you feel alone. I mean, it's different, hard. But right now is hard for you. It's hard for me. There's hardness that we have to ask Jesus to hold our hand through. And, I think we do this thing where we kind of put up this, like, if I experience anything hard, that means the whole world's falling apart. And it really, somebody, a neighbor, a friend, somebody needs to know, because they're quietly going through a hard time too. And, we both believe isolation is where the enemy has
oh,
a heyday.
amen.
It's his
Yeah.
favorite. And so being vulnerable enough to share, and I do believe God has given you and I a gift to speak truth and to be encouragers. And how can we do that if we're keeping it to ourselves? That's not
Right,
utilizing the same gift that he's given us to use. So I love that.
right, right, for sure.
So you've gone through a grieving process. I'm sure you're not done. I'm sure you feel waves of grief still wash over you. And
Mhm.
how do you work through those moments with him?
I'm a lot more honest.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Yeah, prayer has definitely become my first instead of my last
Ooh,
thing to do.
good.
Um, as of the first of the year, I made a decision to take what's available to me and utilize it.
Yeah.
Um, it's hard for me to get out.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
so I have created one day a week that is Debbie Day.
Oh, I love Debbie Day.
It's weird because again,
That's
I'm
not
in a
your
new,
style. That's
it's not
not your
my,
style.
I have no one to go to coffee with. So, I, and I say that tongue in cheek
I
because
know
I
that.
have made some very sweet friends here, but it's different than your lifelong friends,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so, but we're developing really sweet relationships. And so on W Day, I'll go to lunch or I'll just walk around the store and look at things. And um,
Read
I
labels.
will
Like that's sometimes I'm just like,
it's like, oh my gosh. Oh, one day I came home. I don't grocery shop either because Jessie, my daughter-in-law, does that.
I
One
love
day I went
her.
to the grocery store and I came home with $180 worth of groceries. And she goes, Mom, and I go, I couldn't help myself. I haven't grocery shopped for so long. I just saw all this stuff that I was missing.
When did they come out with this?
Yeah, I can't do that very often.
No, no, yeah. I know there it does feel like a little bit of a spa day when I'm just at the grocery store by myself and I'm allowed to just read what's in it. Like just stand there and look at cans and figure out what I want to do instead of them rushing me through.
Absolutely.
Oh
Well, and
my
I've gotten where,
God.
I'll go and um, go to a little cafe nearby and do my Bible study or journal
Yeah.
um, or read something just where I don't get distracted at home, even though there's not a lot going on at home, it's still you feel that need to be washing clothes or doing dishes or something. At least getting out, it really is about
Yeah.
restoring my soul. So
Yeah.
yeah, so
Can I ask
I'm
you a
doing.
question? Have you, did you struggle with when you're in a challenging place and there's other people affected too, right? Other people going through the
Right.
same challenging place. And you are finding yourself with that deep down joy that comes only from the Lord, that we don't know where it comes from because that's like it's out of body, right? You're like, oh, I
Right.
feel joy right now. Did you ever
Mhm.
feel guilty that you were feeling joy when others were struggling around you?
I don't know that I um
Or
felt that.
self-conscious? Maybe self-conscious would be a good
I
word for
don't know that I felt that. I felt more that I wanted to share a
it.
positive with them to
Mm-hmm.
bring them out of it, right? Because that's what we
Yeah.
do is encourage. I think I felt when somebody was down that much, even if I was down too,
Mhm.
that joy is just there. And I wanted to share that even in this, God
Mhm.
is good.
That's right.
Even in this.
That's right.
So
And it's not
I
about
think I
us. If
felt,
he if he's giving us a joy and we're feeling it, somebody needs it, whether it be us
mhm.
that needs it or somebody around us. And so it's reminding myself because I've had that feeling of like, oh, like I don't want to come off Pollyanna because I
Oh my gosh, how many times have you been called Pollyanna?
so many.
So many. That is like my nickname, no matter where I go. It's like,
Same.
really?
Same.
Oh my gosh.
Totally. I love you. This is why, see, this is why
Well, you are my little mini me.
I know we've discussed it. We've discussed it, you and I. Oh my gosh, I've loved this conversation. Okay, so I want to ask you, who's been an influence in your life? Who's somebody that you've looked to, whether it be somebody you know or maybe somebody you follow?
Mm, mm. Um, I there's been so many. I really have this feeling, and I don't know why. Maybe because it's what's happened. There seems to be 12-year gaps between mentors.
Ooh, that's good.
So, gals that have been about 12 years older than me have really impacted my life
Mm,
spiritually, especially since I grew up in a non-believing home. You
yes.
know, I can remember when I first became a believer that I was under the impression you had to get up at 4 in the morning in the dark, sit in the
Yes.
corner with your Bible and not move from Jesus till it got daylight.
And aren't we glad to find out that's not what you have to do?
Oh, I was so grateful to my older friend who said, Debbie, where did you get that? And I go, I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yep.
So, yeah. So, I mean, things like that really
Yeah.
changed that I could be me with
Yes.
my walk with Jesus, and it was okay.
And that he wanted
So,
you to be you in your walk with him. Not
yeah,
even that it was
yeah.
okay, but it was exactly how he designed it. I love that.
Right, right. So then in response, most of the gals, as of like my walk with you, Selena, most of my gals that I have mentored over the years are at least 12 years, if not
Mm-hmm.
more.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I love that. I love being a part of um the new generation because I would say I've got a confession. I'm definitely older and things have changed, but there's things that stay the same, and that's Jesus.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And my I always feel like my role has always been to breathe life
Mm,
into the younger gals who right now you're still trying really to find your way. I
that's
mean,
right.
it sounds like you're doing it, but it's amazing when you get older and you look back and you go, you know what? It some of that stuff just didn't matter. What was important was my walk with the Lord.
Right.
So, and that came from good leadership with me. I think a very dear pastor was huge in my my walk. Um, wow, I
Was
can't
it
even
the
talk
same
about that, but
very dear pastor that I love too?
very dear, yeah, very dear pastor. And he validated
I
who
know.
I was, my
Mm,
gifts. Um, he spoke wisdom in a way that was so kind and yet challenged me.
clear.
And I needed
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I needed that.
You.
So as far as a male counterpart, it would have been him. But um yeah, there's
We're
just so many
speaking of
people
Pastor
for
Roland.
yeah, Pastor Roland. Um, I miss him. Anyway,
I miss him
um,
every day.
mhm, an amazing man
Mm-hmm.
who loved Jesus,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
he just loved
I
Jesus.
think good and faithful servant. That's what I think.
Oh,
Yeah.
I remember one time standing with him in church where they were singing, I'm a friend of Jesus.
Mm,
And I was standing next to him, and I just wanted him to know that we all saw,
yeah.
we all saw that he had a special relationship with the Lord that we
Right.
all wanted. So, um,
Good point.
anyway, I think people, they don't even have to be long time. We talk
Oh, I
about
love that.
influencers. Sometimes we make it so hard,
Yes.
and there's just moments that
Mm,
God gives us. And if we're not watching for them, we miss an opportunity that might be life changing
that's right.
for someone. And
That's
so
right.
I think I really would want people to know I wake up every morning watching for Jesus every
Mhm.
morning. And that's where my rise and shine comes from is
That's right. And your parking
every,
spots, you could tell everyone
and my
she
car,
always gets a
every
parking spot up front.
oh my gosh. I mean, he's so fun. I call
Yeah.
him Sneaky Jesus.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Sneaky Jesus.
He knows, well, at least he knows how to show off for me because we've got humor and
Right.
we have a very fun God and creative.
He's
And
hysterical.
he will accomplish what he wants done any way he wants. I
That's
mean, think
right.
he made a donkey talk. I mean,
Yeah.
hello.
A fire burn. Like what? What is that?
What
Oh my
is
God.
that?
Okay.
So
Well,
anyway, yeah, I
yeah.
think that's what we need to do is know we have the opportunity to make a
Mhm.
difference in someone's life in less than 5 minutes if we're
Yeah.
watching and
Ugh.
we're being obedient. So we've got to quit being hard on ourselves that we're not enough of, or we don't have, or we can't do, and let the Lord do it through us.
Yeah, and let him use you in whatever season you're in, and all of it's for a
Absolutely.
purpose. I love that.
Absolutely. Amen.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask you some fun wrap-up questions.
Okay.
So, okay, you ready?
Ready.
What are you feeding your mind with right now?
I am reading a book. Oh, it's called The Parting of the Red Sea. And I'm
Ooh.
not, oh, it's so good. It is that point. If God brings you to it, he'll get you through it.
Mm, I
Oh, it's
love that.
so good. So
Okay.
it's kind of meeting me where I'm at. So I'm kind of
Yeah.
journaling through that and then my Bible studies, but it's a good book.
Oh my
Easy
gosh.
read.
I'm gonna
Easy
read it.
read.
I'm gonna read it. I love it. What brings you joy, Debbie Hawney?
Seeing others get it.
Yeah.
Seeing others get it.
That
Oh,
light bulb when it clicks.
oh,
Nothing
I
better.
love it. That they know they've been seen,
That's
you
right.
know? Yeah.
Yeah, I love that too. What's your favorite way to pause? Is it Debbie Day these days?
Well, in Washington, it was going to the real beach.
Sorry, Nebraska.
It's just not cutting it here, but yeah, just
Yeah.
getting away from the everyday routine for even a
Yeah.
couple hours feels
Yeah.
really good.
I know often I'm like, you're outside in the sun right now. And like when it's sunny here in Washington, just to go on my deck and just put my face up and just breathe fresh air.
Yep.
I mean,
Oh,
it just, it's
there's something about breathing that's good.
something, there's something about it. It's almost like he created it as part of our mechanism, regulation system. Um,
Absolutely.
what advice would you give yourself if you could go back in time and you get to pick whatever age? So whatever age you want to go back in time, what advice would you give yourself?
Mm. I think probably two things. Enjoy every moment because it can change so quickly.
That's right.
Embrace every moment. And the second one would be to go back and to be more vulnerable with
Ooh,
the Lord.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that you keep saying with the Lord, because I think often we're like, be vulnerable. We think about, all the people around us, but it
Oh,
starts with him and you, doesn't it? And I
yeah,
know for
it
me
really
too,
does.
being honest
Yep.
with myself will then be honest. I'm able to be honest with God, and
Yes.
then I'm able to. That's a really good point.
Well,
Yeah.
again, we go back to he's the big influencer. He's the one that can do something about it,
Yes.
So, yeah.
Mm. Okay, last question, fun question. What's a product you can't live without?
Oh, you guess, and I'll tell you if you're
Coffee.
right. Coffee. Oh my God. I always say if I have to give up coffee, I want Jesus to come get me.
That's it. It's over.
It's over.
I
I'm
love
ready.
it.
Come get me, Lord.
Oh my gosh. Debbie, this was
Mm,
everything I dreamt it would be, which is just us getting a
mm,
chance to, everyone just getting to listen in on us getting a chance to have a conversation and to love each other well. And I'm gonna cry, but that's okay. Everyone's used to it at this point. I am so grateful
mm,
for you, and not just the outward exhortation that you've done for me over the years, and the encouragement and all the hype. I'm not just that. I know how much you've prayed for me in a
mm,
lot of the seasons of my life, and I'm grateful that you would give God that time for my well-being. And I also know that you have spoken such life into my soul over the years, and I am really grateful you get to be one of my influencers. So thank you.
I love you, Sally.
I love you too. Oh yeah, that's good. So if anyone knows me from my life, it's Sally. I love that. Oh, thanks for being here. I love you.
I miss you.
I miss you.
Okay. Thank you for the time, honey.
Love you.
Thank you for listening. I'm just so grateful that you would take the time to be here with me today. I hope that if there's anything that inspired you or got you excited, that you would share it to social media or send me a message with any input or feedback that you have. And just really appreciate the support and the encouragement that I get from you guys all the time. I will keep showing up, and I hope you keep listening.